Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Coffee Break. We've got a really fun show. Of course, we're going to get to the Broncos' new facility updates. Breaking news kind of coming out this morning. Lots to get into. We're also going to get into what the heck is going on with the Colorado Avalanche. A special friend of mine is going to be hopping on here just shortly. And of course, we have to talk about the Denver Nuggets because Nikola Jokic, wow, are we so lucky to get to witness his incredibleness every single week. All right, everybody, I am super excited because one of my good friends, let's bring him in, Jesse from Gorilla Sports, gets to hang out with us for a little bit and tell us what the heck is going on with the Colorado Avalanche. I'm slightly concerned, Jesse, I'm not going to lie. I know you travel with the team and get to do all this fun stuff, but what happened in Vegas was very unlike the Colorado Avalanche.
The part that stood out about it for me that I thought was so uncharacteristic was it felt like they, I don't want to say gave up. I never want to put that on pro athletes. They stopped trying, but like it just really felt like I haven't seen the wheels come off of them like that in a while, where it just seemed like they packed it in like, this game's out of reach. We're not going to get back into it. So it was that to me was the part that was so weird. This is a very proud group. We don't normally see them pack it in like that. And it was, yeah, like you said, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to jump to concerned, but that wasn't great to see.
It was one of those games where even though it's so early on in the season, you know, it kind of has a little bit of an impact for if you look further down the road, especially when it comes to the playoffs, just because of who the Golden Knights are. And so that's where, like, if this would have happened against the Devils, I would have been like, oh, just ignore it, blow it off, whatever. Right. But because it was Vegas, I feel like that's where I'm kind of coming in and I'm like, oh, wait a second.
Well, it's and again, like this team has always been able to, over the last couple of years, they've been able to get up for the big games. And that, I'm with you. That was one where it's like, this is the other team in the Western Conference that is being looked at, these are the two top teams. And to come out and be run out of the building like that, yeah, it's like you wanted to see them have that little bit of extra juice for a game like that. Because, yeah, it does. It just, they no one will probably admit it publicly, but those types of games do just mean a little bit more.
For sure. And the fact that they got shut out by the Penguins, the Sabres, the Golden Knight, in like the first 6 games, the Avs were shooting. It was insane. It was like 223 shots, 27 goals. But in the last 4, it's been 4 goals on 123 shots. From your perspective, what's been the difference?
Cale Makar told me last week that he said, I'm not sure if we maybe got complacent after the 6-0 start. And that is a little bit to me of what it looks like, where it's just they got off to a 6-0 start. They hadn't played perfect, and I think it was a little bit of just like, oh well, yeah, we can kind of skill our way through this. We don't need to be on point, and that kind of caught up with them very quickly. I think Pittsburgh and Buffalo, you got really good goaltending performances, so you say, okay, played a hot goaltender twice. That's kind of a stroke of bad luck, but like you said, in that Vegas game, I really didn't think they generated anything dangerous. It never really felt like they were threatening to score, and it's like you said, just such a departure from what we saw in those first 6 games where it felt like they were clicking on all cylinders. They just really lost that, and you can tell they're frustrated by it.
Walk me through with Georgie, because he obviously had such a long stretch where it was like, okay, here he goes again, he goes again. Yep. And then all of a sudden, again, I'd hate to just keep going back to the Vegas Knights, but of course, as the last game. So it's like, what happened? Is this going to just ruin his confidence, or is he the type of guy that's able to look at that as one game, we move on?
Yeah, I do think he's a mentally tough guy, and just getting to know him between last year and this year, it is really interesting how his mindset has changed. He feels a lot more confident to me this year, but I do think it is a little bit of that. One, I do think he got a little mentally fatigued there at the end of kind of that extended run for him starting. I do think those last couple of games, he just wasn't as mentally sharp, and that happens. He needed to take a little bit of a break. But you could tell in that Vegas game, he was, slamming his stick, smacking his stick against the post. That is very unlike him. I think he's just frustrated. And I do think that goaltending in hockey, so much of it is mental. And yeah, you're right, Rachel. Like if you aren't mentally dialed in, it is really hard to play goaltender at the NHL level. So I think he needs to take a step back, take a deep breath. Cause I do think he's in his own head a little bit now. He went, what was it? In the first 6 games, he gave up like 5 goals total or something like that. Yeah. And now it's 4 per game for his last 4 starts. So he needs to take a deep breath, get reset, and he'll be fine.
How concerned should we be with what Nathan McKinnon said? And props to you because your video is going viral out there. And it's not very rare. Like it is very rare when Nathan McKinnon really talks and gives super like honest answers. You know, there's always the media talk that you hear where it's like, oh, we just didn't have our night. But he was super honest. But the one thing that stuck out to me, Jesse, was the chemistry where he goes, we have a lot of new guys. What did you take from that?
Yep. So I'm actually going to take what he said there and I'm going to pair it with something that Jared Bednar told me a couple days before. I asked him, I don't know if you saw the clip Coach Prime talking about, he went to the Nuggets game and saw how everyone was bought into their role, right? Yep. Jared Bednar has talked about that in the past, about how that's maybe one of the most important things is not just having the best players, but having players in the right roles. So I had asked him about that just before the Vegas game. And he said, look, we've had a lot of shuffling on the roster. There's a lot of new faces. We're getting there, but not everyone is quite bought into their role the way that we need them to be. Mm-hmm. I combine that with what Nate said about there being kind of a lack of chemistry. And I do just think that, like I said, there was a lot of shuffling. Guys have moved up the lineup. Guys have moved down the lineup. There's a lot of new faces. And I just think that they aren't quite there yet with that like championship buy-in where, hey, maybe I think I should be playing on the second line, but the team needs me to be the best third liner in the league. And so that's what I'm going to do. I just don't think they're quite there yet. And I think maybe the guys who have been here existing, who have kind of been through all of that and understand we need to be bought in, are just still trying to get the new guys on the same page so that they can be kind of, you know, rolling the way that we saw them a couple years ago. That's kind of my hunch on it is everyone knows that this is a championship contender. And so everyone wants to be doing a lot. Mm-hmm. And they need to take a page out of the Nuggets book, out of their own playbook from a couple years ago and say, I know you think you can be doing more. We need you to do this, and we need you to do it to the best of your ability. Get everyone bought into those roles, and I really do like this team. But if they're not going to be bought in like that, then you're going to end up with nights like what you had a couple nights ago in Vegas, once a month. You know what I mean?
Well, and that was one of the issues when you look back to last year, where it just kind of felt like the chemistry wasn't super great. You would walk into the locker room, and it didn't feel super close. But it's also such a fine line between those guys that have been there and have won it to not be like, hey, I've been here, I've won it, so listen to what I'm telling you, and instead to try and figure it out and mesh together. One person that's been super interesting to me, though, has been Valeri Nichushkin. He's got that 1 goal in 10 games. Like, we expected his role to be so much bigger, Jesse.
Yep. Yeah, and, you know, you really did want to see, not to rehash all the stuff from Seattle last year, but you wanted to see him come out with a strong start. And I thought he did in the first couple of games. I thought he was pretty good. Yeah. That game against Vegas was maybe one of his worst since he got to Colorado. I definitely think he's a guy that's got a little bit more to give right now. But I do think that a lot of what you're seeing with him is just kind of that overall just weird discombobulation that the team is in right now. Nobody seems like they're really playing up to the level that the Avs expect them to. And I definitely think he is one of those players. He's picked up some assists, so his like overall point total doesn't look terrible. But no, you're 100% right, Rachel, with not only the money they gave him, but the term, just the overall commitment they made to Val Nichushkin. You do want to see him start being part of the solution and part of the problem solving here and getting the Avs out of this slump. He definitely needs to be better. I just want to real quick, because you made the comment about, you know, the locker room. That's the one thing that is maybe puzzling me the most, Rachel, with that lack of chemistry comment is I've had multiple guys tell me, yeah, we're gelling really well off the ice. Like the locker room is great. And even being in there, there's laughter, guys are chatting. Like it seems like this group is getting along, but it's not translating to the ice right now. And that is the most puzzling part is it seems like these guys really do like each other. It's a good group, but like, it's just not, it doesn't feel the same on the ice.
Okay, Jesse, fill me in here, though, because we know Nathan McKinnon can he's just so Nathan McKinnon. Like, he is like, we're winning no matter what. What's Nate like in the locker room? Is he more of like, hey, everybody, like, we're all friends. It's so good to, you know, reunite with some people. Or is he just his normal self where he's like, no, we're figuring this out right now and everybody better get on board?
So I said it yesterday on a show. He's maybe the most intense person I've ever met.
Literally. He's kind of scary when you get like, you have a one-on-one conversation. You're like, all right, I'm going to just take a step back and let him do his thing.
Right. And like, he's never rude. He's never, you know, off-putting. He's never any of that stuff, but he's just intense. And I really do feel like that kind of carries forward into the locker room. Again, his teammates can come over and they joke with him. He makes jokes. You know, he's talking with the guys. But he just does have this like energy to him that, I don't know. He's definitely not, just in general, not like the laughing, smiling, pranking guys in the locker room. He's all business, like pretty much all the time.
Which is why it's so funny when I think back after they won the cup and you would see pictures of McKinnon out there, throwing back a beer, shotgun a beer or something. And you're like, wait a second, this is totally different than the Nathan McKinnon I know.
Right. The huge smile on his face and all that stuff. Yeah. It's like, sweet. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. He is intense. He's an intense guy.
For sure. Okay, so now let's go to the defense side of things because defensemen not named Cale are struggling. Cale has 11 points, where Johnson, Manson, Gerard, Bo, Taze, they all have, I think, it's 10 points combined. So you're kind of like, what are we doing here, guys? Yeah. Because with Cale, the fact that he's not 100% healthy, we need the rest of these guys to definitely step up.
Yeah, so the Gerard and Byram pairing has been interesting. That's something that I think Jared Bednar really believes can work. And he keeps going back to it because they're guys that they play similar. I do think they can complement each other well. They're both Gerard and Byram are better defensively than I think a lot of people give them credit for. But through 10 games, that pairing just hasn't given you what you want. And then, Taves, he's been okay in my opinion. He does kind of play off Cale so much. The points will come for him. I really am looking at that pairing of Byram and Gerard. And then Manson and Johnson, you're not expecting too much out of them. But, I'm looking at it and saying, man, you maybe have to shuffle that up a bit. Because right now, it's not like you've got, the Cale and Taves line that's going and Gerard and Byram that's going. To your point, you've really got one guy that's going, and so he'll kind of drag Taves along with him. And the other two are just really not giving you much right now. So I'm going to be curious to see if Bednar, who's sick, he's not on the ice with the guys this morning, but I think he will be behind the bench tonight. I think he's going to get to the point where he needs to change that up a bit because, to your point, it's just not really working. The pairings that he wants to work, that he's trying to give an opportunity to get there, it's just not really clicking. And to your point, Cale nursing a little bit of an injury from that hit in the Buffalo game, it looks like you need that slack being picked up somewhere else.
I think people always are like, Rachel, why do you think this? But if anybody's sick, I'm like, I don't want you near anyone else. So
my gosh, me too.
Not that I don't want Bednar behind the guys, but I'm like, if you're sick, I don't want you to give anybody else sick. So I'm like, I'm a little hesitant.
That's how I've just always been in life, just in general, is like, hey, don't be a hero and come to work if you're crazy sick. It's fine. I'm with you. Yeah.
No, I'm 100% on that. But obviously, they return back home tonight. I'm sure you're excited as you're traveling with the team. So you know how exhausting it can be to be on the road. They take on the New Jersey Devils at 8 p.m. I hate these late night puck drops, but it is what it is.
I don't get it. I especially don't get this one. In the Mountain Time Zone, playing against a team from the East. If you're a local New Jersey Devils fan living in New Jersey, this is a 10 p.m. puck drop for you. Terrible. I just don't get it. It's terrible. It's terrible.
What are you expecting out of the Devils tonight? What's their best shot at the Avs?
Yeah, so, they're dealing with a couple of injuries themselves, so I don't quite know if New Jersey is going to be coming in with their best-looking lineup. The Avs are a team, that is the other part of all of this, is this group has to figure out, they've had to go through this the last couple of years. This version of the Avalanche has to figure out how to get everyone's best game every night. Every team that plays the Avs is looking at it as a measuring stick, knows that this is a cup contender, and they are going to bring their best game. So I think that's what you're going to get out of New Jersey, especially because they are missing some of their top guys. To me, I do look at this game with the way that the things have gone for the Avs in the last handful of games. They need to take advantage of the fact that they're going to have the best players on the ice tonight. They need to come out and really put their best effort forward. And, New Jersey's a good team, so I'm not saying you're going to run them out of the building, but the Avs need to get a good control of this game and get themselves, I don't want to say an easy win, but, get out ahead, build on a lead, and really just kind of take a win out of this, take advantage of a depleted opponent. And they're going to give you their best shot because they're down players. The Avs need to just win this game because they're better.
Make it an easy win. Everybody go sleep in your own beds tonight, and we'll move forward for the
rest
of the week.
Everyone will feel better. Everyone will be able to take a deep breath, okay.
Isn't that the truth, too? Yeah. I'm ready for that moment. Jesse, I appreciate you so much for hanging out with us. Have fun tonight at the game.
Thanks so much. Anytime, let me know. Great chatting with you, Rachel.
Always. All right, Jesse from Gorillas Now to know what the heck is happening with Jamal Murray. Coach Malone fills us in.
Future for him? He's out tonight. I know that. So we'll kind of continue to talk to our doctors. But his injury is not a 1 or 2 game injury. I mean, that's what I do know, is that this is something that will be longer than we would like. But again, you have to have the big picture in mind and make sure we're putting him in position to get healthy before he comes back, because this is an injury that if you keep having reoccurring hamstring injuries or soft tissue injuries, they can linger and become even worse. And that's one thing we do not want to happen. One more.
It's scary to think about a possibility of a future without Jamal Murray, but like Jake Shapiro had pointed out yesterday, it's good for some of the new guys to be able to step up, for this Nuggets team to see what's happening. And of course, if you're ever going to have an injury on a team, you hope it happens earlier on in the season. That way you can kind of start to figure it out and figure out the best approach. Now, is anybody happy that it's going to be a lingering injury that could move on? Absolutely not. We, of course, want to see Jamal Murray out there, but trying to put a positive spin on it. Definitely, I like kind of seeing these newer guys, and we're going to get into it because holy smokes, did the Nuggets have a night last night. They outscored New Orleans 75-45 in the second half, you guys, which was absolutely crazy. They didn't start off hot from behind the arc, 1 of 13, but they finished 14 for 26, which is just, I mean, that's crazy. Like, their final was 15 of 39 from the arc. Holy smokes. We absolutely love when they kind of go off. We're going to get into Joker, but of course we have to talk about one of the biggest names last night. Twitter was going absolutely insane over this guy. And are we calling it Twitter or are we calling it X now? I've heard both now, and it's kind of starting to freak me out that it may not be Twitter in the long run. But Julian Strawherd had a coming out party last night, you guys. 21 points in 19 minutes, 5 from the three-point line. It was just great. Everybody's kind of been talking about him, but it's like to finally see him be able to go out there. It's like, welcome to the NBA. Let's get this rolling. What are we going to see out of this kid in the long run too? So I'm really excited to see him. I think a lot of people are too. Let me know if you watched the game last night and your thoughts on him. He's the only rookie to ever have 20 plus points, 5 made threes in less than 20 minutes of play. It is just absolutely like crazy what he's been able to do out there. And it makes me happy that Ball Arena has been able to like cheer him on and really pump him up. And I'm sure it was just such an exciting moment for him too. So it is huge. But of course, we also have to give our roses to Nikola Jokic, you guys. We actually have a stat, Tuesday trivia for everybody. I want you to answer this in the comments real quick. The Joker passed LeBron James and got to 108 triple doubles in blank less games than it took for him or LeBron James, as many call him the king, to do that. So let me know how many games you think it is. It's kind of a crazy number, I won't lie to everybody, but he does pass LeBron James and Jason Kidd to sit alone in 4th all time. And Magic Johnson is in 3rd with 138, and Joker's on pace to get there in 27 more regular games, which is, it's just crazy. What we're able to see out of him is absolutely insane, you guys, and we're so lucky. And I try, just like Michael Malone, to not take it for granted a single day, because we've never seen somebody like him. And what I love most about Jokic is that it's his job, but it's not his life. And I think that's so important. And I think a lot of people get really frustrated with Joker at that, but I absolutely love that it is, in fact, just his job, and he loves his job and he loves going out there, but we're seeing more passion out of him this year too. Like, we've seen the yelling. There's obviously, I think it's been going around on TNT where it's like him screaming and you're like, yes, Joker, like bring it. But at the end of the day, like, he's still so funny in all of his press conferences, and he's just such a joy. I love him. I'm so happy he's here in Denver. And even if, you know, the national media never really gives it to Joker and they never put him on any of the big billboards, like, I hope he knows here that everybody here absolutely just loves him. Did anybody guess it? Oh, one person did get it right. The Joker passed LeBron James and got to 108 triple doubles in 813 less games than it took the king to do so. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have a Mile High Minute later for everybody. And there are so many crazy stats when it comes to this moving into 4th all time. It's crazy how many less games it took. So great job over there on answering that question. Other people had guesses of 500, 3,000. I don't even think Joker has played in 3,000 games, so that would be crazy too. Somebody said the real NBA season doesn't begin until Christmas. Well, that's what the NBA is trying to avoid. They want you to know that the NBA has started. They want to compete with the NFL, and that's why they're doing this in-season tournament too. Personally, I don't know if players love it, because do they really want to enjoy or play an extra game if they make it to the championship? I don't know, but the new courts, like, they're getting talked about. So people are talking about the NBA a little bit more than I feel like they have in years past. So yeah, He has a pure shot. People talking about Jamal, the bad hammy. I know. I feel like here in Denver, we're always talking about hamstrings, whether it's with the Broncos, now with the Nuggets. I'm like, can we just please avoid this? Reading a few more. Rachel, this is a dream come true having Jesse on. What a perfect addition to the show. Thank you. Jesse is amazing. I met Jesse back during, I think the Avs were actually headed to Tampa right before like winning the cup. And I had met Jesse. We had connected. He was wonderful. I'm so happy to see he's so doing well with his new job too. So plenty of good stuff from Jesse. Definitely give him a follow over on social media. He's at all of the games. So it's absolutely crazy. Going back to the Nuggets real quick. The Denver Nuggets have now won 27 of the last 31 games in which KCP makes 2 or more 3-pointers. You guys. KCP, I love him for his defense, but if he is able to put any of the balls in the basket, then it's like, of course, if he can get hot, this team's definitely going to start rolling some teams. So I love to see that out of him too. Moving on to college basketball, you guys. I always love making sure that, we give our roses to people. I feel like I've been saying that a lot. And of course, I'm excited about CSU hoops. I was excited about CU hoops, but we need to talk about the biggest story last night, okay? It was not men's basketball. It was women's basketball. And number 20, the CU Buffs crushed the number 1 seed LSU Tigers by a final score of 92-78. This was huge. Everybody remembers LSU last year. Obviously, they come in at number 1 this year. It's like, all right, here we go. In Vegas, this is a big game. And they absolutely destroyed them. They got a ton of attention in the country, essentially, in which they should. And the question will be, will the Buffs be in the top 10 in the next AP rankings? That's going to be a major question. They come in at number 20, obviously. It's like, okay, are they going to move up? And was this a big enough win that, could they move into the top 5, top 8? Like, how big of a victory is this going to be in the grand scheme of things? Of course, it's going to depend on how some other players and programs work. But I think that this was absolutely huge. And yes, it may only be November, you guys. I get it. It's so early. I don't care. Starting your season off with that big of a win, you got to give them. I'm really excited for them and super happy too. Looking at the NFL Monday Night Football next week, you guys, Monday Night Football, the Broncos. I'm so excited. And I think the Manning cast is going to be doing the game. I was a little worried because I don't know. Some people hate the Manning cast. I personally love it, but I was a little nervous. I was like, okay, because it's the Broncos, they're not going to do the Manning cast. Like, it's not something they do every single week, but I think they are going to do it, which makes me really excited. I always love tuning in and just kind of seeing how they break down. Plus, I'm going to be watching to see how Peyton reacts. Like, if they look bad, is he going to just be totally upfront and honest? You never know, but I love watching the Manning cast. I think it's just such a unique way to watch a game, and they explain it so well. And the technology they have nowadays, you guys, is absolutely crazy. It blows my mind. Like, I don't know if anybody watched last night, but they were like moving this like little computer and you could see all the players. It was like, this is insane. And I just remember being told that that's in his neighbor's garage. Peyton Manning's like setup is in his neighbor's garage. Like, what on earth? That's just crazy to me. Anyways, back to actual Monday Night Football. I was taking the Jets. I was thinking the offensive line was going to look a little bit better. I was thinking that the wide receivers were going to hold on to the ball. I thought that this defense at home was going to be able to put on a show and pick off Justin Herbert. But apparently, I was wrong on a few things because wide receivers couldn't hold on to the ball. The offensive line could not protect Zach Wilson. But the biggest story coming out of it is actually, of course, not about the game at all. It's about Aaron Rodgers. And he was out there. He looks good, you guys. And of course, he was asked if he'll be back. And he said, give me a few weeks. That would be insane. If we think back to week 1 of the NFL season, when he goes out because he tears his Achilles and we're all like, well, there it is. Maybe they'll be lucky if he's back by the playoffs. So somehow the Jets can miraculously make it. And now he's saying, give me a few weeks. That's just insanity to me. I cannot believe that. It's somehow he does make it. We all need to sign up for whatever the heck he's doing too. Somebody said, or RJ said, I love the Manning cast. CJ Stroud looking like the truth. Yeah, are the Panthers kind of doing a little bit of a question mark of like, did we pick the wrong guy? They obviously took Bryce Young in the first pick, but CJ Stroud is looking like the truth too, which a little bit of a bummer because the Broncos play the Texans here in a few weeks, but he's also a rookie QB. You never know what can happen. Sticking in the NFL, I do want to talk about Bill Belichick. I have been one of those people where I'm like, I'm not sure what the future holds for Bill Belichick. It's kind of one of those things too, where we were always putting him and Tom Brady. And when Tom Brady left, like it just felt like the Patriots were never able to get back on track. And apparently he was going back and forth with the media about his future in New England. And I I wouldn't be surprised if he's out, you guys. I don't know how you all are feeling. Let me know in the comments because I'm definitely very curious. But I think that his time in New England will definitely come. Also, real quick, this morning, I'm watching Good Morning Football, and they're talking about the Raiders. And all of a sudden, I hear the word Champ Bailey being discussed. And apparently, the Champ wants to get into like management of some sort. I missed a little bit of it, but I'm like, you can't put Champ Bailey with the Raiders. That would break my heart, first of all. But like, how is he being linked to the Raiders? I'm going to be doing a little bit more research on this today because I was just like so caught off guard by hearing the words Champ Bailey and the Las Vegas Raiders with management involved. And so I'm curious how you all would feel about this too. Champ Bailey being some sort of, I don't know, man, I don't even know what that could look like a GM for the Las Vegas Raiders. I just don't know how I feel about that. That would just break my heart, you guys. I literally can't do it. Kraft will let Bill decide when to hang it up. He'd never fire Bill. I don't know, because I think Robert Kraft likes to win a whole lot of football games. And sometimes I think it's better to just let them go on their way and to, kind of go out higher up than trying to go down and you just continue to sink. I've always found that very interesting. Ew, about the Champ Bailey thing. I 100% agree on that right there. I'm like, oh, I hate it too. And then the other big news coming out of the NFL was Daniel Jones. Obviously, he's out with his ACL tear. Are the Giants now going to be in the market for a quarterback? They just signed him to a $160 million contract. That's just crazy. Breaks your heart a little bit. But now, I mean, it's not like the Giants were really any good anyways, so could they possibly be looking to moving up? I don't know. It's definitely something I'm going to be paying attention to. But now what, of course, everybody is wanting to talk about. This is the big news that's kind of come out of the Denver Broncos headquarters today. We've got some of the images thanks to the Denver Broncos. Look at the updates that they're bringing over there to the Centura Health Training Center. They are wanting to upgrade it. It's a $175 million update. They obviously did a $100 million update to the stadium. It looks really good. I'm personally excited for this. I think it's going to be great just for the Broncos facilities. And I think it also is telling us that they're not going to move it closer to the airport, which is, and I know where a lot of stuff has been talked about, like moving a stadium out there, moving practice facilities, making it kind of look like the Cowboys does. But I think this means that they're going to stick put. They're going to just update the stadium where it is right now. And then, of course, they bought the land where currently Centura Health Training Center is. That was before the Walton Penner Group. They were like renting it, and then they ended up buying it. Now they're going to update it. It's going to look really good. I don't know what that means, though, for construction and like for training camp. You can't have there be a whole lot of construction and then training camp out there, too. So I'm excited for those updates. I know Andrew Mason has a wonderful article over at denversports.com with all of the information that you need to know on that too. We're happy about the Nuggets. Congratulations to the Joker moving into 4th all time. And then, of course, we're hoping everybody, please, fingers crossed that the Avs can get back on track tonight. Huge shout out to Jesse for joining the show and to everybody in the comments. I appreciate you every single day for rocking with me. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. Get back to work. We'll see you guys then. Bye.